Good morning, guys. It is Saturday and I am wearing this fleece again, which I wear in every video where I'm going out doing something. But today I'm thinking of going to, this is only going to be relevant if you watch my videos for a little bit, but I'm going to go back to where I used to live back when I first moved back to Dublin after being diagnosed with Addison's disease and trying to recover and things. Where I used to walk around this lake, this absolutely lovely lake, in like closer to the north side of Dublin really, and Swans and everything. And I'm gonna go back there today because it's one of the first sunny Saturdays of the year, which is kind of crazy because it's been a horrible winter and weather and everything, but it's March now, so it's kind of starting to perk up, thankfully. But I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna go for a walk there. I am really excited to go back there, where it's not even so much about the beauty of the walk, even though that matters, because where I live now is very close to Dunleary, it's close to Blackrock, it's close to like a lot of lovely walks, to be honest. But it's more so when I moved to Dublin. I was diagnosed with Addison's disease in January 23. I moved to Dublin in October 23. I felt a lot better because I was on medication and things for the first time and getting treatment. I didn't realise I was really still quite sick, but I didn't want that to make my decisions for me, I guess. But where I lived at the time, because I needed to live mostly alone, because I just, once again, didn't understand the seriousness of having a condition like that and living alone. I don't think I anticipated how serious that was until I had an adrenal crisis. But I also lived in a really quiet area, and I remember that by the time it was coming up to say like April 24, I was more settled in my job, I was more stable on medication. I'd been, diagnosed for a year and on medication for over a year and was starting to feel kind of okay. And then actually in March 24, I had my first adrenal crisis, my first and only adrenal crisis, thankfully. And that really set me back, like physically, as it does. So when it was coming up like April, May and starting to get bright and sunny, and all of my friends from work were like doing things after work, like going for walks, runs, swims, things, I had no, it's much more than having no energy. It's like there was a physical nothingness inside my body that is very hard to describe, but it's not a constant nothingness. It was like getting worse every minute until I would sleep, and then I'd come back and be start at a 5 out of 10 again, the next day, and lose any fluids because my electrolytes were impossible to balance at the time, and all of those things were really difficult. So I realised one thing I could potentially start to do was walk, and I really wanted to build up my energy and strength for walking. And I started walking around this lake in these little paths and things and figuring them out and finding them. It's a general walkway where a lot of people walk and run and just kind of cycle. There's like a playground and things. There's also a cemetery, which I'm not opposed to, but it was just so, it's nostalgic for me because it's the ground in which I started again, I guess. I used to be someone who played badminton competitively. The exercise is so important to me. It does something for me mentally, but also I just feel really myself and in my body. I think also being autistic, it helps me ground in my body. So not doing that for years and then finding, okay, I'm going to find embodiment in walking felt really difficult at the start because I realised how little I could actually walk. Like I couldn't walk that far at all without becoming winded, or I remember my muscles in my calves giving out and I just have to sit down on the grass, and I'd try and look like I was sitting down casually to people that were passing, and I was like, this doesn't look casual at all. But then slowly I started to be able to walk like the full length of the lake and the paths, and over months, that took months between that summer and September. And I started to think, oh, okay, maybe I can be a person again. And that sounds so sad, but it's so true. Like maybe I can be a whole person again someday, and this is the first step of it. And when I moved away, because I got accommodation with some gorgeous friends that I live with now and who I've moved with again, when our landlord basically had to evict us because he was selling and all of those things. So it was a right decision to move, but I've missed that lake and I've missed the ducks and I've missed the wander so much there, because I think I found it so grounding. Now I do things like, I do the gym, I do badminton, I do like very activity focused things, whereas this actually is a really important walk. Like that activity was just walk, just think, just sometimes I was trying to also get really good at not listening to music or podcasts whilst walking, and I found that excruciating at the start. and things. So I have such fond feelings towards it because it's a time in which I really had to spend a lot of time with myself. I already spend a lot of time alone, but it's very much by choice and very much related to, I suppose, how I am and by choice. Back then it was very much to do with I could not be around other people because I didn't have energy to move, and that was really difficult. So I'm going to do that today. I'm going to visit there. It's a really nice day. It's not a long drive away, I don't think. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go. Swans will be there, but it's been like 2 years, you know, or it'll be like a year and a half since I saw them. So, you know, it'll be a nice walk and to get out and things, and I might get a little coffee, and I might bring a book, which is what I used to do before. Was I would use those pit stops when I was exhausted to bring a book. Whereas now I might bring the book, but also I'll have to consciously stop because I don't need those stops as much anymore. You know, my body isn't forcing me to stop. So it's also a bit of a moment of reflection for how far I've come. So I think that'll be nice. It's a nice way to spend a Saturday, so I'm going to do it. My lovely day out. I spent a solid 3 hours walking and then sitting and reading by the lake and everything, and it was really nice. I kind of underestimated slightly how emotional the experience would make me, which is potentially silly because I haven't been there since I felt like a whole different person, I guess. But even when I first walked around the lake, I walked it in essentially half the time it used to take me because I used to have to stop or my leg muscles would just feel like they were about to give out and things. So it just almost like every step felt like a renewed victory. So therefore that felt emotional. So actually a lot of my first walking was just processing and thinking about. There was difficulty in not being diagnosed. I was unwell for 11 years before I was diagnosed with Addison's disease. Or adrenal insufficiency, to be more correct. And that was really difficult. Not being diagnosed is so difficult in a whole other way. The unknowing is a pain that I can't really describe. But also there was an agony to that first diagnosis or early time that is very hard to explain because there's a recalibration of your entire life. That with the joy of diagnosis, because you have an answer, doesn't mean you get better, actually. So I think today was a lot of processing that. It also didn't help. This isn't funny. It didn't help that when I went back to my car had been broken into. Like, I'm laughing because I'm like, what else do I do? What else do I say? So I actually was in really good mood. Went back to my car and looked in the window, like as I was walking to the driver's seat, and saw that like everything was thrown everywhere and the back door was open. So I don't know, nothing valuable was in the car at all. They didn't take nothing. They took my gym bag with my gym shorts in it. It just had like 4 pairs of gym shorts, which is actually kind of annoying because now I need to buy more, but just a bit daft, to be honest. The car was not damaged at all. The seatbelt stuck in it, so I imagine I did click the lock, but then it didn't obviously close it, so that is completely on me. However, that really dysregulated me, to be honest. It's almost comical how quickly that kind of thing threw me, because it just felt like a bit of a violation to have someone in my space, because my car, anyone who has a car, I guess, you know, and if you're not a homeowner or anything like that, owning your car and having your car is so important, or feels so important, I guess. And for me, when I couldn't work and I couldn't do anything, I was out of work whilst I was pre-diagnosis with Addison's. I was so sick. I fought really hard to keep my car and keep paying my payments for my car, because even though I didn't have an income, because I just could not have that, even though I couldn't really drive anywhere long distance because I didn't have energy or strength, or I wouldn't trust my concentration on the road. But my car has since become such an outlet and a safe space and things, so it almost just felt kind of gross that somebody was in there, more than anything. So I'm really glad that nothing was taken. I would usually have a laptop with me if I might go writing in a coffee shop or something after I go anywhere, so thankfully there was nothing in the car. I'm annoyed about my gym shorts. I don't know why they bothered to take it. And I did feel like I needed to recreate a level of balance, so I went to a service station and I had to check my tire pressure anyway, and I like fully hoovered out the car or vacuumed the car and cleaned it, and like cleaned the inside, fragrance sprayed it with the valet people that were there, and like fully recalibrated it to make it feel like mine, which just feels a little bit gas because, you know, yeah, I don't know, I think I always need to rebalance a scenario where I feel like I've been out of control in any way. It's kind of like if I've been acutely sick, like with a flu or something for a while, I tend to need to like do something that shows a burst of energy. It helps me create an inner equilibrium. So if we're going to psychoanalyze it, which we're not, it's after 10 o'clock at night, we're not doing that. It really bothered me, and still has bothered me a bit. So it did make me organise my wardrobe when I came home, because I immediately had to reassess how many gym shorts I actually even had left. Shouldn't really have been my priority. But I did a good bit of cleaning though and things and organising, and today was a really nice Saturday. It's a Saturday I probably thought would not happen. If you have ever been or are currently in that state of unwell that it feels like there's been a carving out of who you used to be, and now that's just this hollow space, and people keep saying it'll get better, but you just see the hollow space. I don't want to say, you know, any platitudes like, oh, hold on, you know, or anything like that, because when you're in that, it is a fight to blink, you know, to breathe. Health-wise, it really is. I'm sure it'll get better. Is actually, it's at its best, it's mildly frustrating. At its worst, it's devastating or insulting. So I guess if there's one thing I would say is that those days, the better days, might not look like full recovery. They might still look like days like mine where I have to manage myself and manage my medication and all of those things. But there are days with sun and ducks and swans and kids throwing oats at the swans and laughing and everything, like even, and your car getting broken into and having to like retidy your car to assert control and deal with that and think about how random it is that happened. All of that is life in Technicolor. It's so full, it's so vibrantly life, the good and the bad, that I did not think I would feel again, because I didn't think anything would be vivid again when I was unwell. Everything was pale. Whereas today, I cared. I had so much energy to care. And that is the biggest victory of the last 3 years of being diagnosed and working to assert myself as myself in my own life again. If you are in a similar spot or have been in a similar spot or anything like that, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. I really would, like quite genuinely. It helps me feel like when it's bad again and I'm going through times where my energy is really low and I don't have the energy to even reach out to anyone, it helps me know that there are specific stories and people out there, rather than kind of just knowing theoretically that there's people going through the same thing. So feel free to leave your story in the comments. I would really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you guys soon. Bye.